For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates. This is StratNews Global. I'm Amitabh, Revi, and you're watching our weekly flagship show, The Talking Point. A warm welcome to all our viewers across the globe, wherever you are, whatever time you're watching this stream. We hope you had a prosperous Diwali and a safe and clean celebration. Also, glad to welcome back to StratNews Global Colonel S. Dinny, retired. He's a military and security analyst. Thank you, Colonel Dinny, for giving us time.
Thank you, Amitabh. It's great to be on your show, and very happy Diwali to all your viewers, and also all the soldiers and sailors and airmen who are guarding our borders.
Same from all of us at StratNews and Bharat Shakti, little belated though. Also, a founder and editor-in-chief of StratNews Global and Bharat Shakti, Nitin Gokhale, joining us for perspective as well. Thanks, Nitin.
Yeah, thank you, Amitabh. Thanks for inviting me, because there is Dinny who has a ground experience, and there are you who does the weekly show, but it's good to be on the show.
Colonel, starting with you and looking at micro level, in terms of what happened with the Shakti Brigade para insertions at 14K plus feet. Could you explain to us the significance of using pre-acclimatized troops, specialist vehicles, missile detachments in this integrated battle drill before we get into the larger picture?
The question is to me?
Yeah, Colonel.
Okay. Yeah. See, this exercise which is just finished, and it's again a capability demonstrator, if I can put it that way. When we look at it in this particular high altitude area, also there's something known as maneuver warfare, which we keep talking. This particular demonstration is the capability of Indian Armed Forces to launch troops well beyond the depth, into the depth area. And let me tell you that these kind of operations in this high altitude area is extremely difficult. But our troops are so well trained, the Air Force are so well trained that they are able to do it in almost absolutely to be a precision sort of a thing which is happening. So firstly, it's a capability demonstrator that no matter which area you are, the message is given that we can reach through other means also. It is not only through the land, but through the air, and we can turn the defenses around. So that is one of the first and foremost thing which this kind of thing. And let me tell you, this kind of high altitude, 14,000 feet, where like this particular exercise, when it was held, it was about minus 20 degrees Celsius was the temperature there. So to carry out these operations in this temperature, in this rarefied atmosphere, it is extremely, not everybody can do it. So Indian Armed Forces, both Indian Army and the Air Force, over a period of time have gained operational experiences, and each time they come up with better innovative methods and incorporate that whatever lessons they have learned and devise new ways and means so that maximum impact can be there. And this can only manifest once the operations start. And then these kind of launches, these kind of things, when this kind of operations are launched, it's a complete game changer. It's a complete game changer, and I think we have the capability, the forces, the training for carrying out those kind of operations. So that is the significance of the exercise which is happening there.
Nitin, in terms of the significance and the game changer, it's not just these exercises, but which are talking about capabilities, capacities, but the larger question of both the political and military establishment sending out signals vis-a-vis China and how open they are now.
Oh, in fact, that is the significance, I would think, because as veterans would point out, and they have pointed out in certain cases, that such exercises have been carried out in the past too. Of course, like as Colonel Dinny mentioned, they get tweaked, they get refined, they get fine-tuned as years go by with new equipment, new tactics, all that happens. But what is significant is that the government of India as a whole and the armed forces are now willing to say it up front that we have done this exercise. It is meant to show the capability, demonstrate the capability, and also send the message across to the adversary, to the Chinese in this case, because The Chinese are past masters in showing this. Even if they do 50% of their capability, they would blow it up to about 100% and say that, we are doing this, carrying out exercises in high altitude. We are testing this equipment, that equipment. I think that old reluctance that the Indian Armed Forces, Indian establishment, military establishment especially had till some years ago has thankfully vanished. And now I think the realization has dawned that this is also one domain of military operations which needs to be utilized. That's why I call it the all domain strategy, where you talk with the adversary, you stand firm against the adversary, and continue to utilize the media, the social media platforms, videos, everything to demonstrate your capability. So it's a all-encompassing strategy that has been adopted, which is how it should be.
Colonel Dinny, in terms of on the ground, I mean, this has not happened overnight. It's not just happened yesterday or today. It's been years. In your experience, in terms of the soldiers, the boots on the ground, that narrative where the Chinese are, 9 feet tall, that doesn't really sit with the soldiers. They know what it is, right? I mean, they've shown it in what happened in Galwan. That was, of course, the ultimate sacrifice. But then Arunachal recently also in Tawang.
Absolutely, Amitabh. There's no doubt, and I go back to my own experience there when I was the commanding officer in Pangong, and this was in 2015-17, and there were clashes then also, and our troops are very clear. They are not, they don't come under pressure seeing a Chinese. And in fact, what I, as a professional soldier, let me tell you that even Chinese are professionals. They're not unprofessional, or they're not like those. The peasant soldiers which they were known, they're not like that. They are professional soldiers, but so are we. So whatever they throw at us, we are able to give it back in kind to them at the same spot. Now, and also the mindset has undergone a lot of change. The mindset which was there earlier, and that mindset has undergone change because it is not the soldiers even in 1962 were very, they were fine soldiers. I mean, in fact, they were hardened soldiers, and there was nothing wrong with them. But the soldier can be, effective only when other aspects also come and join to them. Like, for example, the assets which he requires to fight there. Those things have undergone a big change in the past few years. If I say about a decade, but last 6 to 7 years has been a real transformation as far as the equipment wise has gone. Now let us see the capability, the infrastructure. The infrastructure is one of the main things in which the soldier has to be there so that he can go and fight. So now all these things are happening precisely because there's been a plethora of infrastructure was coming up. So, and that also, like, even if you see the 5 years of 2016 to 2021, I think 2016, there was about 4,600 crores of was what was allocated. And in 2021, it is 11,800 crores of infrastructure has come. So that much more thing is coming. So these all things add to the soldier's response mechanism when he's there. And as far as I have seen, whether it is physical fitness, whether it is combat experience, like earlier what the same Shatrujit, one of the biggest difference between PLA soldiers and Indian Army is the combat experience which we have. Now imagine the Army commander, Northern Army commander, he is a war veteran in Kargil. Now, that is something which you can't purchase off the shelf, or something which you can't, just by technology you can overcome that. A man behind the machine will always matter. And there, any soldier who is 5 years and above would have at least seen one Rashtriya Rifles experience or a high altitude tenure before he comes there. So that much more experience he is. On the other side, the PLA soldiers are not combat experienced. They are able to do the border management. They're able to do all the other things, patrolling and all. But this combat experience is combat experience. That nothing cannot be changed. And therefore, the soldier on ground, he is not bothered whether he's a Chinese or whosoever it is. In fact, I go to the extent of saying that, for me, the difficult part was, as a commanding officer, to tell my troops, including my young officers, that this is not line of control. When you treat line of control in a manner of disdain, and the way in the kind of almost like you give it back to them. Similarly, the troops here also, they don't get overawed by the thing. So that 1962 thing is gone. There's nothing. We are actually much more, we are aggressive, and as I mentioned, we give it in kind the way they throw it. If they show us respect, we show them respect. But if they don't, then there's no reason that for them to be taken in any other manner. To the extent that even, let me tell you that even the PLA knows it. I had, I was remembering that during the surgical strike when it happened. So when the usual patrolling had happened, the company commander from the Chinese side had come, and then they met. And that time it was quite friendly kind of a thing. So the company commander from PLA asked, "You carried out? We have heard that you carried out surgical strike on Pakistan. So will you be doing it against us also?" So my company commander mentions that we don't strike on friends. So this is the kind of confidence and the kind of thing which it was there. So it is that whatever we do, even the PLA knows, and there is respect. So there is nothing like that 62 that we will do this and all those kind of, like what Nitin also was mentioning, that it is quite a bit of perception which they create, but that doesn't have any impact on the borders.
Talking about perception, Nitin, you said all domain narrative, all that it's coming out more. And I mean, your personal experience, both in Ladakh and Arunachal Pradesh, and then again, it's not just you that's being singled out. The media was taken to Arunachal Pradesh recently as well, so it's being put out there.
I think it's a well thought out strategy. I mean, in our case, when I went there, it was my personal push and our organization's push that we wanted to go and look at the change situation in Arunachal Pradesh. As you're aware, I had spent a number of years, 23 years in the Northeast. So I had seen Northeast in a very primitive stage, and at a time when there was a policy of not building roads to the border, to the LAC, lest the Chinese use it against us. That changed in 2008, and gradually all that has now come to fruition. The change policy has brought in many more infrastructure projects, many more connectivity projects. And as you can see, some game changers and capability enhancements have taken place because equipments and platforms like the ultralight howitzer, as you can see here, which is being airlifted or underslung by the Chinooks, bought from the US. Both are US equipment. They have now been deployed very close to the border. In fact, I heard when I went to Eastern Arunachal Pradesh from local ground commanders that the Chinese object to the Chinooks flying close to the line of actual control because they know the capability that the Chinooks bring in. Not just underslung carriage of ultralight howitzers, but also insertion of troops. Because Arunachal, unlike Ladakh, still has connectivity problems. But even that has changed. I mean, at a time when, say, 20 years ago, when I went to Along or to Kibitu, I had to use, transport like elephant back ride across the river channel, then get into a boat, then get into a ferry, then get onto a vehicle. Today, there's a bridge which carries me across from Dibrugarh to Kibitu and beyond in no time. So things have changed. Capability development has taken place. Infrastructure has improved tremendously, and there is a focused approach. I must also tell you, Amitabh, that the Indian Army, which had got bogged down in CICT or counter-insurgency operations in the Northeast, has completely delinked itself from those operations because they are no longer needed. And if they are needed, there's Assam Rifles and the other paramilitary or central police forces to take care of. So today, the entire 3+ core, or 4 cores now, that is 3, 4, 33 and 17 Mountain Strike Corps, is now concentrating its energies on challenging or tackling the Chinese challenge on the LAC in the Northeast from Sikkim to Arunachal Pradesh. So therefore, this change has not come overnight. It has come because the leadership, both in the military leadership, the political leadership, and the formation level leadership at the lower level have changed their attitude. One very small fact, but it's a fact that the 3-star level leadership in the Indian Army, Corps Commander level, these are leaders who are born after 1962. They don't carry the baggage of 1962, the so-called defeat of 1962. That baggage not being there means that they're free of that, the burden of that defeat, and therefore they are as confident, as aggressive when needed, and as steadfast when needed. This change, I think, very few people notice, and we still, in many of our analysis and foreign analysis, we still think of the 1962 defeat or 1962 humiliation that the Indian nation suffered, not just the army. But believe me, and Dinny will be able to tell us that things have changed. The Chinese are no longer feared or no longer playing on our mind as like you mentioned, 9 feet to 10 feet tall, and who can have supernatural powers, overwhelm us. No, I think they also know it, and therefore the hesitant policy of the Chinese in not launching an all-out offensive anywhere across our borders.
Perfect timing, in fact, to just play out your exclusive interaction at Bharat Shakti, Sister Concerns Defense, India Defense Conclave, when you spoke to the Chief of Army Staff, General M. Naravane, about China, about how they were dealing with talks, yet using the opportunity to up both the infrastructure, the capabilities, the troops, civil and military. This is what General Naravane told Nitin Gokhale on the 21st at the conclave.
Not that because we are talking, we are letting our guard down. In fact, even as the talks have been in progress, we have done certain amount of revisit of our threat perception. We've carried out certain amount of rebalancing of our forces to meet this enhanced threat perception. Side by side, we have done major improvements in our infrastructure, which was there in Eastern Ladakh, and not only in Eastern Ladakh, but across the whole of the northern front. It would be incorrect to imagine that we are only focusing on Eastern Ladakh and rest of the northern borders are not being addressed or not getting the attention that they deserve. The entire northern front is being looked at in a very holistic manner, and these developments are carrying on everywhere. We are not for a moment letting our guard down or imagining that things cannot worsen in the future. It is always our hope that all the issues can be resolved, all the differences through dialogue and discussion. But if that is not there, and if the situation is forced upon us, then we are always ready to man the borders and protect our territorial integrity and sovereignty. And that is a year-round affair. It is not that it is only in the summer months or campaigning season, be it summer or winter, whether it are deep snows or whatever be the challenges of climate and terrain, we are ever ready 24/7 to take on whatever is thrown at us.
Indeed, in fact, I can testify to that. As you are aware, you facilitated my visit to Eastern Arunachal Pradesh, for instance, which in some ways comparatively has been a neglected area. But even there, it is very heartening to see the kind of changes that have happened there, technology induction, more troops, more movement forward. So in that sense, I think the crisis has also been an opportunity in the sense of rebalancing that you mentioned and revisiting some of the strategies, isn't that?
Quite right, and I think Winston Churchill had said that never let a good crisis go waste. Exactly. So we have also not let it go waste. Our threat perceptions have also, crystallized.
Colonel Dinny, threat perceptions crystallize its capabilities, capacities, and as you alluded to earlier as well, integration that has got upped, right?
Absolutely. See, now that's what I think the chief also was mentioning, that, and this particular crisis last year, which has taken place, you've seen the integration of all forces, and that's what earlier also was mentioning, that the whole of government approach, which includes all domains, and that translates into the last 100 meters, on the border. So if you see the fighters flying over, if you see the combat helicopters there, if you see the light utility helicopters all being done, all these things matters. You find a light artillery gun being towed and brought up. All these things gives that confidence to the man on ground. And therefore, that integration, and as when we started this program, the Yuddha Abhyas, that itself is an integration between Air Force and the Army. And those kind of things have been streamlined, and this particular crisis actually has, given us more lessons to learn. And this, I think, in a way, I also find that it is in a way a blessing in disguise, that many things have come out and many refinement has taken place. And one has seen, and even for the extent that even the civil administration, that also a thing which we should mention here, that there is 4 civil airports which are being planned in Ladakh. There are 30 plus helipads which are coming up. The border area, telecommunication sectors is coming. So all these things is happening because of this focus which is there now, the dedicated focus which is, and this definitely will add to the soldier who's there at the forefront when he's facing the Chinese. So that definitely that's an integrated approach which is there in this crisis, and I think the effect will be seen in the coming years in a much more forceful manner.
Nitin, you reported on not just the military but civil in infrastructure, both in Ladakh and in the east as well, northeast. But just wanted to get you to elaborate or just go in depth a bit into the differences in terms of dealing with the terrain in Arunachal Pradesh and say Ladakh when you're talking about the Chinese.
Yes, in fact, if you look at the terrain in Ladakh and the problems that occur, the Ladakh terrain has got three different dimensions. One is the flat land in the DBO Depsang area where mechanized forces can operate easily and can be deployed from both sides. In fact, one of the reasons that has been now touted by the Chinese for what they did in Ladakh was their own threat perception about the Indian armies or Indian military's capability development that can threaten G219, the highway connecting Xinjiang and Tibet, which means one can sort of go across the plains of Depsang from DBO to Depsang and beyond into Aksai Chin very fast if mechanized forces are deployed. So that's one terrain. The second terrain is, of course, the small valleys and mountains and hills in Galwan and Hot Springs and other places. And then again, you come down to places like Chushul and Demchok and then down to Hanle, where the terrain sort of has a mixed profile. But that's about Ladakh, where it's easy to deploy mechanized forces, missiles, long-range vectors, standoff weapons. All that can be done. Arunachal and Sikkim is a completely different ballgame because it's full of thick jungles, high mountains, deep valleys, fast-flowing rivers, 4 months of monsoon, which will mean, basically that helicopters cannot fly, UAVs cannot operate because there's no visibility in many places. It's scary to fly through those valleys in Arunachal Pradesh, even if you're coming from Tibet. It's the vastness of the rivers there. It's scary, and therefore technology may not be of much help in Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim. It will be the man on the ground, the boots on the ground, which will determine the outcome of the battle. And that's where I think India has the advantage because these are battle-hardened troops. They've been deployed there. They climb, they acclimatize, and they get deployed in remote areas without road connectivity or without even air connectivity. Sometimes they walk for 10, 12, 15 days on the long-range patrols, which go on for more than a month sometimes. That's what happens. So that's the challenge that China has when it wants to take on India or Indian forces in Arunachal Pradesh or in Sikkim in the east. In Ladakh, I've already mentioned that while they can deploy technology, it may not be as easy to sort of utilize the full spectrum of technology because of the kind of adversary it will face in the form of Indian soldier and the Indian tactics and doctrine that has a different connotation from the Chinese connotation. Therefore, these challenges, I think the Chinese will have to overcome and get more battle hardened. I don't know where, but certainly they lack in that battle hardened approach or battle hardened experience of battle compared to the Indian soldier or Indian air warriors.
As Colonel Dinny mentioned earlier as well. Colonel Dinny, would you agree with the analysis that maybe India's risk averseness has gone up in terms of, whether it's technology, demonstrators? We've seen of late a lot of, whether it's the Agni 5, whether it's the long-range laser-guided bomb, a lot of signaling, apart from technology demonstrations and induction.
Absolutely, Amitabh. I think the tolerance for escalation also has gone high. India, I think over a period of time, what we have seen is that we have a greater tolerance now that even if it escalates, it can be managed. That kind of a feeling has come. Earlier, what used to be happening that at no cost we should allow any kind of actions for so that things don't escalate and things don't lead into a full scale war. Today I think the mindset is that okay, we know till what level this can go. This zone between no war and no peace, that kind of a thing, that level, I think people have understood in a better manner, and that understanding is backed by solid capability building over a period of time. And of course, rest of the factors also. It is not just military domain alone. It is the the economic aspect, the diplomatic aspect, the political intent wise. Everything adds into giving that confidence. Okay, we can manage this to a particular level, and that is the number one. Number two is that I think too much of perception, or too much of propaganda by the Chinese also, I think, has led to some sort of people now understand, not only us, I think India, I think the whole world, that too much of this warmongering and kind of showing off their assets here everywhere, whether it is Taiwan, whether it is, so that also actually somewhere down the line people have drawn a line that okay, this and nothing more. So that kind of thing is definitely, I agree, that our tolerance for escalation has increased, and that is why, like it was what was hidden earlier, this Yuddhabhas or whether it was some Agni, it is now made public. Okay, you can see it. This is what we have. We have no intention of keeping it under the thing. This is what everybody to see. So I think that is a change which is there.
But Colonel Dinny, has the message gone across the LOC to the Chinese? I mean, how do you see, say, Xi Jinping in the months ahead, I think reacting?
I think definitely, they are also reading us very closely. I mean, there is no doubt that they observe everything, they read everything, and like the latest, even to the extent I can say that the latest border laws which have come, many believe that there are questions being asked from inside that why was this Ladakh thing carried out? Who was control of, why did it happen? And all those things is also a factor in which, due to which this border laws have been now made, each agencies have been given responsibility, whether it is Foreign Department and PLA, and many things are there. So, and the fact that, Xi Jinping has not gone out of his country for almost, I think, 560 odd days, it shows something. There has been so much of important meetings in international arena, but he is still not gone out even once. So those are things which gives us a message that something is happening inside. And of course, the 20th Party Congress, which is coming up next year in October. So it is not that everything is calm and everything's and a lot of economic problems which they are facing because of their own policies. So something is definitely happening there. Probably we will come to know in the course of time. But whatever India is doing, I am very sure that the decision makers on this across, they are making a note of it, and that is why I am hopeful, and I'm very sure that you will not see the things moving from the current situation into a full-scale war, because war means losses, casualties for both sides. So I don't think that is in anybody's interest. So therefore, this thing will continue. This escalation or this kind of state, my understanding is that this particular whatever is happening along the line of actual control will continue at least till next year October, when once again Xi Jinping either comes back strongly or whatever happens. I see this lingering for a slightly more than what was expected earlier.
Nitin, if you want to sum up, I mean, this all domain strategy or all of government approach.
Yes, I mean, just in one sentence, really, all of the domain strategy, all of government approach wouldn't have come together had the Chinese not made this tactical mistake or tactical move through which in Ladakh, tactical move in Ladakh, aggressiveness, belligerence, and being very blatantly land grabbing exercise, blatant land grabbing exercise they tried to do. This wouldn't have happened. So in a way, we should be thankful to the Chinese for doing what they did, because by doing that tactical action, they've actually lost India strategically. Today, 130 crore Indians or 1.3 billion Indians now know the Chinese perfidy, the Chinese malafide intentions in Ladakh and elsewhere. And the attention is pivoted from Pakistan, or our obsession with Pakistan has got reduced to focus more on China, which is anyway the bigger adversary, bigger challenge for the Indian nation state. And that's something good that has happened for India. I'm not sure whether China realizes this, that in trying to do that one tactical gain in Ladakh, they have lost India strategically.
Nitin, Gokhale, thanks so much for that. Summing up half an hour of discussion in those few sentences. Thanks. And Colonel Dinny, thank you for your time, experience, and expertise as well. It's always been a pleasure having you on StratNews.
Thank you, Amitabh. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Thanks again to all our viewers. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, do that. Our analytics, in fact, show that about 70% plus of those who watch our videos are not subscribed. So that means either you're not subscribed or you haven't logged on with your Gmail ID. So do that. Subscribe to our channel. It doesn't hurt you, doesn't cost you a lot, and it helps us a lot to follow our social media handles on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as well. This is Talking Point on StratNews Global. I'm Amitabh.